My fiancée cheated with her ex just 3 days before our dream wedding, but what happened at the altar flipped the entire story on its head forevermore. I'm Atlas, 31 years old, male, and I work in construction management for a pretty big company here in the city. I make decent money, own my house outright, drive a newer truck, and basically have my life together, you know. I've been with Carly, 28 years old, female, for 3 years. She worked in real estate, selling fancy houses to rich people. Or at least she did until she decided to quit her job 2 weeks before our wedding to focus on being a bride and all that stuff. My sister Sadie kept saying something was off about Carly. She was being secretive, always on her phone. My best man Charles thought it was just wedding stress. 3 days before the wedding, Carly went out with her girlfriends and didn't come home until 3 o'clock in the morning. When I asked about it, she got defensive and said I was being controlling. We had this huge fight where she said maybe we should postpone the wedding. I apologized like an idiot. So, the wedding day starts normal enough. I wake up around 8 o'clock in the morning, feeling pretty good. My mom calls me, freaking out about some flower arrangement thing, but I tell her everything's going to be fine. My best man Charles shows up with the other groomsmen around 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Then the wedding march starts playing. Everyone turns around to look at the back doors. And there she is, Carly, in her white dress, holding her dad's arm. I have to admit, she looked amazing. This whole moment felt like it was out of a movie or something. Her dad walks her down the aisle, shakes my hand, and gives her a kiss on the cheek. Everything's perfect. We're standing there, holding hands, while the pastor does his thing. He's going through the whole spiel about marriage being sacred love and commitment. I'm looking at Carly, thinking about our honeymoon to Bali, about moving into a bigger house, maybe having kids someday. All that future stuff you think about when you're about to get married. The pastor gets to the important part. Atlas, do you take Carly to be your wife? Easy answer. I do. No hesitation, no doubts. I'm ready for this. Then he turns to Carly. Carly, do you take Atlas to be your husband? She looks at me for a second with this weird expression, like she's trying to say something but can't get the words out. I'm thinking maybe she's just emotional. Some girls cry at their weddings. That's when the doors at the back of the church open up. This guy walks in wearing a dark suit. I recognize him immediately. It's Anthony, Carly's ex-boyfriend from college. What the hell is he doing here? He wasn't on the guest list. He starts walking down the aisle like he owns the place, not caring that he's interrupting a wedding ceremony. Everyone turns around to stare at him. The music stops. The pastor just stands there with his mouth open. I'm still holding Carly's hands, but I can feel her tensing up. Anthony walks right up to the altar, looks at me, then looks at Carly. Then he says loud enough for the whole church to hear, Carly, I know you still love me. Carly, says Anthony. He continues. The night we had 3 days ago was amazing. Come with me. The entire place goes dead silent, like you could hear a pin drop. I'm looking at this guy thinking, did he just say what I think he said 3 days ago? That was the night she came home at 3 o'clock in the morning. I look at Carly and she's got tears in her eyes, but not happy tears. She's staring at Anthony like she's seeing a ghost. Then she looks at me and says, Atlas, I'm sorry, I can't do this. And just like that she drops my hands, drops her bouquet, and runs, not walks, runs down the aisle toward Anthony. He follows her out the back doors and they're gone. I'm standing there at the altar in my tux, holding her bouquet because it hit me in the chest when she dropped it. 200 people are staring at me like I'm some kind of zoo animal. My mom's crying. My dad looks like he wants to kill someone. Carly's family is just sitting there looking embarrassed as hell. The pastor clears his throat and says something about how sometimes life takes unexpected turns. But I'm not listening. I'm just staring at those back doors, wondering what the hell just happened to my life. My brain wasn't working right. I kept thinking this had to be some kind of prank, or maybe I was having a nightmare. Like maybe I'd wake up and it would be the morning of my wedding again and everything would be normal. But no, I was wide awake and this was really happening. Charles walks up behind me and puts his hand on my shoulder. Dude, what was that? He whispers. But it's so quiet in there that half the church probably heard him anyway. I couldn't answer him. Honestly, I had no idea what to say. Sorry guys. Turns out my fiancée was cheating on me with her ex and decided to let me know at the worst possible moment. Yeah, that would have gone over really well. Carly's family is just sitting there looking mortified. Her mom's covering her face with her hands. Her dad's staring at the floor like he wants to disappear. Josephine, her sister, who is supposed to be the maid of honor, is standing next to me in that purple dress, looking like she's about to throw up. Finally, Charles grabs my arm and says, "Come on, man. Let's get you out of here." Smart thinking, because I probably would have just stood there all day like an idiot if he hadn't moved me. We walk out through the side door so I don't have to go back down the aisle past everyone staring at me. I get in my truck and just sit there for a minute. Charles gets in the passenger seat and we both just sit there, not saying anything. What are you supposed to say after something like that? Sorry your fiancé turned out to be a cheating piece of trash. Thanks for being there when my life imploded in front of 200 people. I drive home and park in my driveway. Charles asks if I want him to come in, but I tell him I need to be alone for a while. He says he'll check on me later and gives me this awkward bro hug before getting in his car. I go inside my house and it's weird as hell. Everything's exactly like I left it this morning when I was excited about getting married. There's still wedding stuff everywhere. The guest list on my kitchen table, Carly's makeup bag she forgot to take to Josephine's house, the fancy luggage we bought for our honeymoon sitting by the door. My phone starts buzzing like crazy. Text after text, call after call. Everyone wants to know what happened, if I'm okay, what the hell is going on with Carly. I turn the phone off and just sit on my couch, staring at the wall. Around 6 o'clock in the evening, Charles shows up at my door. He'd been calling me for hours, but obviously couldn't get through. When I let him in, he's got this look on his face like he's got bad news to tell me. Dude, everyone's been trying to reach you. Your mom's freaking out, your sister's pissed as hell, and people are still at the venue because nobody knows what to do. Turns out, after I left, both families were trying to figure out how to handle the situation. The venue still had to get paid, the food was already prepared, the DJ was there with all his equipment. Some people left right away because they were uncomfortable, but a lot of them stuck around because they didn't know what else to do. Carly's family was in full damage control mode. Josephine was trying to apologize to everyone and explain that this wasn't planned, that she had no idea this was going to happen. Their parents were just trying to get through the day without dying of embarrassment. But here's the part that really pissed me off. Charles tells me that some people were actually defending Carly, saying maybe she just got cold feet, or maybe Anthony forced her to leave, or maybe there was some misunderstanding. Like, are you kidding me? The guy literally announced that he slept with her 3 days ago and she ran away with him. What's to misunderstand? Then Charles drops the real news on me. Dude, I recorded some of it on my phone. I was just taking video of the ceremony like everyone else, and I caught the whole thing when Anthony showed up. At first I'm like, delete that right now. The last thing I need is a video of the worst moment of my life floating around. But Charles says he already posted it on TikTok without thinking about it. He was just so shocked by what happened that he uploaded it immediately. How many people have seen it? I ask. Well, it's kind of blowing up like 50,000 views in the last few hours. Great, just great. Now my humiliation is going viral. I can already picture the comments, people making jokes about it, turning it into memes, sharing it with their friends for entertainment. My worst day ever is about to become internet content. The comments are already brutal. People are calling Carly every name in the book, saying I'm better off without her, making jokes about Anthony's timing. Some people are even feeling sorry for me, which is almost worse than the jokes. Can you take it down? I ask. I tried, but it's already been shared like 1,000 times. Even if I delete mine, it's out there now. Perfect. So not only did my fiancé cheat on me and humiliate me in front of everyone I know, but now it's going to be on the internet forever. People I've never met are going to watch me get my heart ripped out and probably laugh about it. After he leaves, I turn my phone back on. 73 missed calls, 156 text messages, voicemails from my mom, my dad, my sister, co-workers, friends, even people I haven't talked to in years who saw the video and wanted to check on me. I don't listen to any of them. I don't read any of the texts. I just turn the phone off again and go to bed, but I don't sleep. I just lie there, staring at the ceiling, trying to process what happened. This morning, I woke up thinking I was about to have the best day of my life. Tonight, I'm going to bed single, humiliated, and probably famous on the internet for all the wrong reasons. The worst part is, I keep thinking about that fight we had 3 days ago when she came home at 3 o'clock in the morning and got defensive when I asked about it. Now I know why. She was with Anthony. She was cheating on me 3 days before our wedding and then had the nerve to get mad at me for asking questions about it. I should have trusted my gut. I should have listened to my sister. I should have paid attention to all the red flags instead of making excuses for her. But it's too late now. The damage is done. Around 5 o'clock in the morning, I gave up trying to sleep and just got up. I made coffee and sat at my kitchen table, looking at all the wedding crap scattered around, guest list, vendor receipts, the stupid little wedding favors Carly insisted we needed that cost me $400. All of it felt like evidence from a crime scene. That's when it hit me. I needed to start making some calls. We were supposed to fly to Bali this afternoon for our honeymoon, 2 weeks at some fancy resort, all paid for and mostly non-refundable. The first call was to the airline. I spent 20 minutes on hold, listening to that annoying elevator music, before some customer service lady picked up. She was actually pretty cool about it. She waived some of the change fees since my situation was, in her words, highly unusual. It still cost me about $3,000 in penalties, but whatever. Money was the least of my problems right now. Next was the hotel in Bali. That conversation was even more awkward because the guy barely spoke English and I had to explain 3 times why I needed to cancel my honeymoon suite reservation. Finally, I just said there was a family emergency and left it at that. By the time I was done with all the travel stuff, it was around 8 o'clock in the morning and I'd lost about $8,000 total. $8,000 down the drain because my fiancée decided to cheat on me and announce it at our wedding. But honestly, I was more pissed about the principal than the money. Then I started thinking about all the wedding gifts. People had given us expensive stuff, kitchen appliances, fancy bedding sets, picture frames, serving dishes, all kinds of household items. Since there was no wedding and no marriage, it felt wrong keeping any of it. Plus, I didn't want any reminders of that disaster sitting around my house. I spent the rest of the morning loading up my truck and driving around town, returning gifts to people. I had this note I printed out that said, "Since the bride ran away with her ex, I figured you'd want this back. Thanks for understanding, Atlas." By noon, I'd returned about half the gifts. The rest were from people who lived too far away, so I just boxed them up to mail back later. My truck was finally empty and I was feeling a little better. At least I was doing something productive instead of just sitting around feeling sorry for myself. That's when I remembered Carly's car. She'd been driving my old BMW for the past year while I got a new truck. The title was still in my name because we never got around to transferring it. She kept saying she'd handle the paperwork, but she never did. Lucky for me, I guess, I drove the BMW down to the used car lot where I bought my truck. The sales guy recognized me and was like, "Hey Atlas, how was the wedding?" "Didn't happen." "Long story. You want to buy this car back?" The guy could tell something was wrong and didn't ask any more questions. We worked out a deal and I walked away with $15,000 in cash. I figured I'd need the money to cover all the wedding costs I was stuck with. I got home around 2 o'clock in the afternoon and that's when the real work started. Carly had been living in my house for 2 years and had accumulated a ridiculous amount of stuff. It took me most of the afternoon to pack everything up. I filled my truck bed twice with boxes and garbage bags. All her pictures came down off the walls. Her books went into boxes. I even packed up the stupid decorative pillows she insisted we needed for the couch. By 6 o'clock in the evening everything was loaded up and I was ready to make my delivery. I drove over to her sister Josephine's house. Nobody was home, which was perfect because I didn't want to deal with any drama or explanations. I left everything on the front doorstep. Probably 20 boxes and bags of stuff. I put a note on top that said, "Your sister's belongings." Short and to the point. I got home and my phone had been buzzing non-stop all day. I turned it on to find about 50 missed calls and 100 text messages. Family, friends, co-workers, even people I hadn't talked to in years. Everyone wanted to know if I was okay. But the craziest thing was a text from Charles. "Dude, you need to see this." The video has 3 million views. 3 million views. In less than 24 hours my wedding disaster had been seen by 3 million people. I opened TikTok and there it was. Charles' video with thousands of comments. Hundreds of thousands of likes. And it was still climbing. The comments were insane. People were calling Carly every name in the book. Making jokes about Anthony's timing. Sharing their own relationship horror stories. Some people were even making memes out of it. There was one where they put dramatic music over Anthony walking down the aisle like he was in some kind of action movie. But here's the weird part. A lot of people were being supportive. Saying I handled it with class, that I deserved better, that I was going to find someone way better than Carly. Some women were even commenting stuff like, "If you're ever in my city, let me buy you dinner." My personal nightmare had become internet entertainment, but somehow that made me feel a little better. Like at least other people could see how messed up the whole situation was. I wasn't crazy for being pissed off about it. I started reading through some of the comments. And that's when I realized this wasn't just going to blow over. This video was going to follow Carly around forever. Every time someone Googled her name, this was going to come up. Every job interview. Every date. Every time she tried to start over somewhere, this was going to be there. And honestly, I was okay with that. She made her choice in front of 200 people. And now the whole world knew about it. Maybe next time she'd think twice before cheating on someone and humiliating them at their own wedding. That night, I actually slept pretty well for the first time in weeks. Yeah, my wedding was ruined, and my relationship was over. But at least I wasn't married to someone who would do that to me. And thanks to the internet, everyone would know exactly what kind of person Carly really was. Tomorrow, I'd start figuring out the rest of my life. But tonight, I was just going to enjoy watching karma do its thing. The next few days were absolutely insane. Charles wasn't kidding when he said the video was everywhere. By day 3, it had about 8 million views on TikTok alone. And people were sharing it on every social media platform you can think of. Runaway Bride was trending for almost a week straight. I couldn't go anywhere without people recognizing me. I went to grab coffee Monday morning, and the barista was like, "Oh my God, you're the guy from the wedding video. I'm so sorry that happened to you." Then she refused to let me pay for my coffee. It was a weird feeling having strangers feel sorry for you. But I wasn't going to turn down free coffee. But the craziest part was people started sending me money. Random strangers on Venmo and PayPal sending me $20 here, $50 there. With messages like, "For the honeymoon you deserved and buy yourself something nice, King." At first, I felt weird about taking money from strangers. But then I remembered I was out $8,000 on the honeymoon. And probably another $5,000 on wedding stuff I couldn't get refunded. So yeah, I kept the money. By the end of the first week, I'd gotten almost $2,000 from random people on the internet. Not going to lie, that felt pretty good. Meanwhile, Carly's life was falling apart. I started hearing things through my sister Sadie, who was getting updates from mutual friends. Apparently, Carly was hiding out at Josephine's house, too embarrassed to show her face anywhere. I can't say I blame her. The comments on that video were brutal as hell. Then on Wednesday, Josephine called me. I almost didn't answer because I didn't want to deal with any drama. But curiosity got the better of me. "Atlas, I'm so sorry about what happened. I had no idea Carly was... if I'd known about Anthony, I would have said something." "It's not your fault, Josephine. Your sister made her own choices. She got fired today," she said. That stopped me cold. What? Her boss saw the video and said she was conducting herself in a way that's detrimental to the company image. Real estate is all about reputation, and nobody wants to work with someone who's famous for running away from their wedding. Josephine tried to keep the conversation going, probably hoping I'd say something about wanting to work things out, but I hung up after a few minutes. I felt a little bad for her. Josephine was always decent to me, and now she was stuck dealing with her sister's mess. But the hits kept coming for Carly. Sadie called me Thursday night with more updates. "Dude, this is getting crazy. Mom ran into Carly's mom at the grocery store today, and she said their whole family is getting harassed. People keep recognizing them from the video and asking about it." "What kind of harassment?" "Like, at church last Sunday, people were staring and whispering. Her mom works at the bank downtown, and customers keep coming in asking about that wedding video. Even her dad's getting it at work." That actually made me feel a little bad. Carly's parents were always nice to me, and they didn't deserve to get dragged into this mess. But then I remembered that they raised the daughter who thought it was okay to cheat on her fiancé 3 days before the wedding. So, maybe they weren't completely innocent. The best part came Friday night. Charles called me, losing it laughing. "Dude, you're not going to believe this. Anthony dumped her." "No? Already?" "Yeah. My cousin knows this girl who works with someone who knows Anthony's roommate or whatever. Apparently, once the video went viral and he started getting recognized too, he decided Carly was too much drama. Told her he just wanted to mess with you, and wasn't looking for anything serious." That was perfect. So, not only did Carly blow up her life for this guy, but he was just using her to get back at me for some reason. I couldn't even remember ever doing anything to Anthony. We barely knew each other when Carly and I started dating. So, now she's unemployed, single, and living with her sister because she can't go back to her parents' house. Why can't she go home? Apparently, her grandparents threatened to disown the whole family if they let her move back in. Super religious old school people who think what she did was unforgivable. That night, I was scrolling through the comments on the video again. Most of them were still roasting Carly, but some people were actually analyzing the whole situation. One comment stuck out. "This girl really thought she could have her cake and eat it too. Wanted the security of the nice guy but the excitement of the bad boy. Well, now she's got neither." That pretty much summed it up. Carly wanted to marry me for stability and security but still wanted to mess around with Anthony for whatever reason. When she got caught, she had to choose. And she chose wrong. Now she was finding out that Anthony didn't actually want her long term. He just wanted to cause drama. Another comment said, "Imagine being so selfish that you'd rather humiliate someone at their own wedding than just break up with them privately beforehand." Yeah, that's what really got to me. If she wanted to be with Anthony, she could have just called off the wedding. Instead, she let me pay for everything, invited 200 people, and then made a public spectacle out of dumping me. But reading all these comments from strangers who got it, who understood how messed up the whole situation was, made me feel validated. I wasn't overreacting or being dramatic. What Carly did was genuinely awful, and people could see that. Monday morning, I went back to work, feeling better than I had in months. My boss asked how I was doing, and I told him honestly, better every day. I had a promotion opportunity coming up that I was going to focus on instead of dwelling on relationship drama. That's when I realized I wasn't the victim in this story anymore. I was the guy who dodged a bullet and came out stronger. And Carly? She was just another cautionary tale about what happens when you try to play games with people's hearts. About a month after the wedding disaster, things were finally settling down. Work was good. I'd saved up a decent amount of money without having to pay for Carly's expenses. And honestly, I was sleeping better than I had in years. It turns out I was way more stressed about that relationship than I realized. All those months of wedding planning, dealing with Carly's mood swings, I didn't realize how exhausting it was until it was over. Now I could just come home, watch whatever I wanted on TV, eat whatever I felt like making, and not worry about anyone else's drama. My family was being cool about everything too. My mom stopped asking if I was okay every time she talked to me. My dad went back to giving me normal advice about work and stuff instead of trying to be a relationship counselor. And Sadie was just relieved she didn't have to pretend to like Carly anymore. I got to be honest. Sadie told me one day when we were having lunch, "I never thought she was right for you. Too high maintenance, always making everything about her. You're way better off. Why didn't you say anything? Would you have listened? You were in love, dude. When guys are in love, they don't want to hear that their girlfriend sucks." She was probably right. I would have just gotten defensive and made excuses for Carly like I did whenever anyone questioned our relationship. Meanwhile, I kept hearing updates about Carly through the grapevine. None of it was good. Josephine called me again about 6 weeks after the wedding. I almost didn't answer, but I figured I might as well hear what fresh hell Carly had gotten herself into. "She's really struggling, Atlas. She can't find a job anywhere because that video comes up every time someone Googles her name. She's been applying to restaurants and retail stores, anything that'll hire her." "That sucks," I said, trying to sound sympathetic, but honestly not feeling it much. "She's been asking about you, wants to know if you're seeing anyone. If you ever think about her, tell her I'm doing great and I hope she figures her life out. Would you ever consider talking to her? Maybe getting some closure?" "We got closure at the altar, Josephine. She made her choice pretty clear. I wasn't interested in playing therapist to her sister. Carly created this mess. She could deal with it." A couple of weeks later, Sadie gave me another update. She'd run into someone who knew someone who'd seen Carly working at this chain restaurant out by the mall. Apparently, she was a hostess or something, making minimum wage and still living with Josephine because she couldn't afford her own place. Her whole friend group dropped her too. Sadie said, "Nobody wants to be associated with someone who's internet famous for being terrible." Most of Carly's friends were pretty shallow anyway. The type of people who cared more about image and social media than actual loyalty. It made sense that they distanced themselves once she became a meme. The Anthony situation was even more pathetic. I heard he'd moved to another state completely. Probably got tired of people recognizing him as the homewrecker from the viral video. So, Carly destroyed her entire life for a guy who used her to mess with me and then disappeared when things got complicated. Around the 2-month mark, I was feeling pretty damn good about everything. Charles and I were at this sports bar, watching a game, when he brought up something I'd been thinking about. "You know what's crazy? If Carly hadn't pulled that stunt, you'd be married to her right now, probably miserable and dealing with her drama every day." That night, I was lying in bed, thinking about what Charles said. Yeah, getting left at the altar sucked and the viral video was embarrassing. But what if Carly had actually gone through with the wedding? What if I'd married someone who was capable of cheating on me and then humiliating me in front of everyone I cared about? I would have been stuck with her. Divorce would have been messy and expensive. We probably would have had kids, which would have meant dealing with her for the rest of my life. Instead, I found out exactly who she was before it was too late. And now I was free to find someone who actually respected me. The universe did me a favor that day, even though it didn't feel like it at the time. Sometimes the worst thing that happens to you turns out to be the best thing in disguise. And sometimes, people do you the biggest favor of your life by showing you their true colors before you make a permanent mistake. I was actually grateful to Carly now. Not grateful for the humiliation or the wasted time and money, but grateful that she saved me from a lifetime of being married to someone who would do something like that. Better to find out at the altar than 5 years into a marriage with kids, a mortgage, and all kinds of complications. 3 weeks later, I was having probably the best Saturday morning I'd had in years. Then I heard a car door slam in my driveway. I looked around the side of the house and saw this beat-up Honda Civic parked behind my truck. I didn't recognize the car, but when the driver got out, my stomach dropped. It was Carly. She looked like hell, hair a mess, face all puffy like she'd been crying, wearing these old sweatpants and a t-shirt I'd never seen before. This was not the put-together real estate agent I used to know. This looked like someone who'd been living in their car. Part of me wanted to just go back inside and pretend I wasn't home, but I was curious what she wanted after 2 months of radio silence. I walked around to the front of the house and she was already at my door, finger hovering over the doorbell like she was working up the courage to press it. When she saw me, she immediately started crying. "Atlas, thank God. I wasn't sure you'd be home. What do you want?" Carly." She tried to step closer to me, but I backed up. I wasn't about to let her think there was any chance of physical contact. "Can we talk, please? Just for a few minutes." I almost said no, but honestly, I was curious what kind of story she was going to try to sell me. Plus, it was better to get this over with now than have her keep showing up. "You've got 5 minutes. Talk." She took a deep breath and launched into what sounded like a rehearsed speech, all about how she made the biggest mistake of her life, how she panicked about getting married, how Anthony manipulated her and made her think I wasn't right for her. Classic manipulation tactics. Blame everyone else, play the victim, act like she had no choice in the matter. "He told me you were just using me for the physical stuff and that you'd get bored after we were married. He said I deserved someone who was more exciting, more passionate." I was so confused and scared about making the wrong choice. "So, you decided to test drive him 3 days before our wedding?" Her face went red. "That wasn't supposed to happen. We were just talking and things got carried away." I immediately regretted it, but then he showed up at the church and I panicked. "You panicked? You ran away with him, Carly, in front of 200 people. That's not panic. That's making a choice." She started crying harder. She said she realized right away that she made a mistake, that Anthony didn't want a relationship, that he just wanted to mess with me. Then she said he dumped her 2 weeks later and said the whole thing was just to prove a point. "What point?" "I don't know. Something about you thinking you were better than him in college or whatever." I never understood it. "Great. So, I got humiliated at my own wedding because of some imaginary grudge from 10 years ago that I didn't even know existed." She goes into this whole speech about how she learned from it and knows who she really loves now. And that's what matters. She tries to grab my hands while she's talking, but I pulled away immediately. I told her what really mattered was that she was unemployed, living with her sister, and her life fell apart, so now she wanted to crawl back to the stable guy who had his life together. She starts getting defensive, saying that's not why she's there, that she realized I was the best thing that ever happened to her, and she threw it away for nothing. "You're damn right you threw it away," I said. "And not just for nothing, you threw it away in the most humiliating way possible." That's when she really lost it. She started making these ugly sobbing sounds that probably had my neighbors looking out their windows, begging me to give her another chance, saying she did do anything to make it right, get a job, pay me back for the wedding, go to therapy, whatever I wanted. She said we could start over somewhere else where people didn't know about the video, and there it was. She wanted to run away from the consequences and start fresh somewhere else, like none of this ever happened. "You think this is about the video? You think I'm embarrassed about what happened? The only person who should be embarrassed is you. Everyone who watched that video saw exactly what kind of person you are. They saw me get screwed over by someone I trusted, and they felt sorry for me. You're the one who looks like trash." That hit her hard. She stopped crying for a second and just stared at me like she couldn't believe I said that. Finally, she said, "I'm desperate, okay? I have nowhere else to go. My family won't talk to me. My friends all dropped me. I can't get a decent job because that video follows me everywhere. You're the only person who might give me a second chance. You don't want me back because you love me. You want me back because I'm your only option." That's not true. Yes, it is. If Anthony wanted a relationship with you, if you could get your old job back, your family forgave you, would you be here right now? She didn't answer, which was an answer in itself. I turned around and started walking back toward my house. She called after me, saying she'd wait for me to change my mind, that she knew I still cared about her. All kinds of desperate stuff, but I just kept walking. I got to my front door and turned around one more time. She was standing by her car, looking completely defeated. "Carly? Yeah? Next time you want to test if someone's right for you, do it before the wedding, not at the altar." I went inside, and that was it. The final chapter of the Carly saga. She tried every manipulation tactic in the book. Guilt, desperation, promises to change, playing the victim. But I wasn't the same guy who would have fallen for that stuff 3 months ago. Carly taught me a valuable lesson. When someone shows you who they really are, believe them the first time. She showed me she was selfish, dishonest, and willing to destroy other people to get what she wanted. I believed her, and I acted accordingly.